all candidates of the King's Own Institute degrees and diplomas, please stand. Dr. Jones, I certify that the candidates whose name appear in the printed program have met the King's Own Institute requirements for the degrees and diplomas to be conferred or awarded to them.
In accordance with the Constitution of the Australian Institute of Business and Management, trading as King's Own Institute, and in accordance with the authority given to me under that Constitution, I admit the candidates to the degrees and award the diplomas stated against their names in the program. I admit in absentia those candidates who are not present. Please be seated. I now call upon Emeritus Professor Ed Davis to present the graduates to the presiding officer.
Professor Hinchliffe, I present the graduates who have been admitted to the degree of Master of Professional Accounting. I present Diraj, Master of Professional Accounting. Abdul Bazid Shabaz Sieh. Ali Shuaib Sieh. Krishna Tajir.
Board of KOI, fellow members of the academic staff, graduates, family and friends of graduates. I begin by adding my own personal congratulations to all of those who have graduated this morning. I want to say something to you about the significance of the ceremony in which you are participating. One may ask, why have a ceremony like this? After all, having passed all your exams, KOI will provide you with a certificate of achievement, setting out the subjects you've passed and the grades you've obtained. So why do we need all this? The answer, of course, is that you've participated, or are participating still, in a tradition which goes back hundreds of years in academic achievement. What's happened today is that, perhaps without being aware of it, you've, in a subtle way, changed as a result of this particular ceremony. It's a little bit like getting married, you know, when the ceremony starts, you're single, but by the time it's over, you've been pronounced man and wife. When you came into this room, this hall this morning, you were all what we call, academically, graduands. But having come up on the stage and been presented, you have become graduates. It's a subtle difference, but it's a significant difference. It's a significant difference in that ceremonially you have now had conferred upon you the honour and status of a graduate which you have earned as a result of your studies. And here you are, dressed up in this rather strange way, as indeed are all of us participating here. And I thought it might be useful for you to understand a little bit more about the significance of that as well. The academic dress we're all wearing also goes back to the Middle Ages. It's essentially made up of three parts. The headdress, the thing around your neck, which is called a hood, which I'll come to later, and this, which is a gown. If you go back far enough into the Middle Ages, the churches were the custodians of scholarship, and senior academics were all mostly in holy orders, that is to say they were members of the churches. And as a result of this, the religious vestments, the clothing which they wore, has traditionally become adopted by academic institutions. The earliest European universities grew out of the cathedral schools of the 12th century, and by 1150 the two great places of learning in Europe were in Bologna and Paris, and scholars travelled from all over Europe to go there. And yet we now know that there were higher learning institutions even before those in Italy and in the Arabic civilization of Islam. According to UNESCO, a mosque college, those that have been in my classes will know I struggle a bit with Arabic pronunciation, but I'll do my best. A mosque college called Al-Qaraya-Wiyan in Morocco was founded in AD 859 and is the oldest existing continually operating degree awarding educational institution in the world. Others grew up in Cordova in Islamic Spain and in Cairo by the 10th century. The Testama, the degree certificate that's been handed to you, also seems to have had an Arabic beginning. There was a document called an Ijazah, if I've got that right, which was a kind of license to teach, which was conferred on certain Arabic scholars as a type of academic passport which they could carry around with them. Now, what about the titles of the degrees? Some of you this morning have graduated with the degree Bachelor. It's got nothing to do with marital status. It's a term, again, which came to mean a junior member of a guild. A guild was an association of people who practiced in a particular craft. And as the universities had been structured like guilds, they adopted this word bachelor. So a bachelor was the most junior level of those who had actually qualified in the university. Below that, you were just known as a scholar. But once you actually got to the level of having achieved something, you were a bachelor. And the bachelor would then work to obtain experience and be ready to present to his seniors what was known as his masterpiece. In other words, he would train in the particular discipline in which he had become a bachelor, and once he had achieved his masterpiece, which might be something physical or it might be some document of research or something, he would present this to his seniors and he would be granted the degree of master because he was seen to have mastered the particular discipline in which he had previously graduated as a bachelor. There is, of course, now an English word, masterpiece, which is just one word and means something significant, but like so many of these things, it has its origin in those academic traditions which go back so many years ago. And again, there's an Arabic word which suggests that it could go back even earlier than the use of it in the universities of Oxford and Cambridge. That Arabic word, I'll have a go, is bihaq al-riyawa, from which some people believe the word bachelor has come down to us. So by the 13th century, the academic institutions had a hierarchy. There were the scholars, as I said, who just attended lectures, they were learning. There were the bachelors who had actually graduated, but they were still student teachers. There were the masters who had mastered the art of teaching and were now allowed to teach. And then right at the head of it all were the doctors. Doctor comes from a Latin word, doceo, which means I teach, and from which we get the English word to indoctrinate somebody. So now perhaps you have a little bit of an understanding of the origins of the ceremony to which you have been a member today. The regalia you're wearing, as I said earlier, it's really got three parts. We'll start with the gown, that's this bit. In the Middle Ages, it was a closed garment, like that. It was cold in Europe, so that made sense. By the second half of the 15th century, in the academic institutions, the garment was now worn open in the front. And the other thing that was interesting was that the sleeves began to take on strange shapes to indicate the particular status that you held. Those of you who have bachelor's degrees will be aware that the sleeve of the gown you're wearing is a large open sleeve at the front. The master's degrees, on the other hand, have a gown which has a sleeve derived from Tudor times, which is actually closed in the front. But you could get into it. There's a sort of a big gap down there where you could actually carry documents around if you really wanted to. I'm not so sure whether it'd be suitable for carrying an iPhone or anything these days. You'd probably never get it out again if you dropped it in there, but nonetheless, in the Middle Ages, that's what people did. And of course, we come now to the hood. Now the hood is exactly what it sounds like. In the original regalia, the hood was attached to the gown. A lot of you would undoubtedly have jackets and things which have a hood at the back which you pull up when it gets cold. And again, that's what it originally was. As it became part of the ceremonial dress, it was separated from the gown so that it's no longer physically attached to it. But it is